Onto this now. Clover is the latest recall. Over 10,000 units of Go Nuts peanut butter after tests revealed higher than acceptable levels of a-fla-toxin. Now, the National Consumer Commission investigating a number of producers who've had their products recalled for the same reason. Let's discuss this now with the acting National Consumer Commissioner, that's Thezi Mabuza. Ms. Mabuza, good evening to you and thank you for your time. Your reasoning for the latest recall of this specific product, what are the issues?
The issues here is that it has a higher than acceptable level of aflatoxin, which is against the recommended levels for healthy human food. So in this case, it means that it is non-compliant. And as well, what we are looking at is that the supplier itself did not do what was expected of them after getting the results. They took a little bit of extra time than actually instituting the recall itself.
And could there be penalties for taking that time? Because taking your time when your product is flagged, you potentially are putting people's lives at risk.
Yes, from our side, we feel that really, indeed, they did put consumers' lives at risk. But then as well is that we had indicated when we were starting with the first recall around the beginning of February, we actually urged suppliers, both suppliers and the retailers as well, to say, please test the product. And then we specifically wrote to most of the suppliers that we knew, bigger suppliers of peanut butter. We even went in of, producers of peanut butter and the retailers to say to them, please test the products that we are having on the shelf that we've made available for sale to consumers. But then we felt that they dragged a little bit, and then as well is that also after realizing, testing like 3 times, realizing that the product was indeed non-compliant over the acceptable limits, they even took almost around 10 days before they can even recall. But then what is said is that the product was still circulating, and we even checked some of the stores recently. We realized that even if they said they had recalled the product, we realized that it was still in circulation.
My understanding, having conducted a previous interview on the same subject, the expert said that a-fla-toxin, is a cancer-causing agent, and if consumed in large amounts, it indeed could cause cancer to that particular person. You're warning, therefore, to members of the public who may have this Go Nuts peanut butter in their home shelves.
Yes, we are saying to consumers, if the levels are higher than what is acceptable, please stop consuming the product. Whether you have in your possession proof of purchase or a receipt, it just doesn't matter. Just take the product to a point of sale wherein you bought the product or wherein you assume that you have seen the similar brand. Just go in, take it back. But then we are saying to consumers that when we are giving like a warning like this to say return the product, we just want to warn consumers that aflatoxins, it's not only available in peanut butter, it's naturally occurring, it's available in most of your food stuff. That would include dairy products, it will include maize, your beans and rice as well. So that would mean that all these commodities, they've got regulated amounts. So if you consume more than what is regulated, then you are putting your life at risk. Please hit the call, return the product. You would get a refund whether you have your receipt or not.
How do you know, Commissioner, that you as a consumer are consuming more than the regulated amounts?
present with symptoms. In most cases with food is that you would not know what you would have consumed. Most of us will present with food poisoning, but sometimes is that after consuming, higher than unacceptable levels, will present with either you will start having diarrhea, you would either start having, nausea and stomach cramps. That would mean that something is wrong that you might have consumed. So it is best that in this instance, if maybe you know that you have consumed peanut butter, please don't discard the container. Just make sure that when you go to your health practitioners, take whatever that you have consumed along with you so that it can get tested, so that we can have that causal link. Because in most cases, it's very difficult when it's food stuff actually to pin the causal link with the ill health that a person might be suffering from.
Why is this being discovered now, Commissioner? And it's not a question, I'm trying to find a way to express exactly what I'm trying to ask you here without sounding alarmist. We have been consuming peanut butter for some time, and none of this, I don't think, was ever flagged as an issue. What is it about the time we're in, or perhaps the producers themselves? What is it that they are overlooking that they should perhaps be more stringent about?
Yeah. Colleague, what really is now the issue is that besides we would have normal recalls, like maybe one supplier recalling a brand, let's say canned baked beans or maybe grape juice and so forth. You would not have multiple suppliers, different brands calling that. It might be maybe from the same supplier. But what worried us is that we had the first recall, and we realized that in the first recall in the beginning of February, when we were recalling Pick and Pay and then the Lifestyle peanut butter and the Wazubos, we realized that it was from the same manufacturer that had supplied a number of retailers. And again, based on that, we realized that the product was even decanned by some of your smaller health shops into different brands. That would mean that some of the products that were on the shelves, consumers down the line would not even have now kind of like dotted the lines to say that this is from the same manufacturer. But then what was also alarming for us is that in trying to investigate, we realized that it was coming from a same either silo or maybe nuts that were stored in the same place that might have affected others. Hence then we wanted to make sure that all the suppliers, because we could not really understand as to the nuts that were used, where did they come from or how did they get into the country and to which other manufacturers were they distributed to. So that is what became alarming, hence we made the call. But again with this one, you can see that it's not only those brands, it's like 3 weeks down the line, we still see those other brands that are affected. So that means the problem is higher than that. And I think I am afraid to even say we might be having 2 or 3 more brands that we are following up wherein we have flagged. We had asked the manufacturers to say, please go back and verify, and then the retailers will start informing us about those. So it's something that is kind of like a little bit bigger of a problem. That would mean that suppliers, manufacturers and the retailers, they did not follow the HACCP procedure or approach in making sure that they test before they use the nuts, they test after manufacturing, and also before they put those products for retail, they were supposed to test. So we were kind of like caught napping in the value chain because people did not do what they are supposed to do in the value chain.
Final question to you, Commissioner, and this is quite serious because what you are suggesting now is that there are potentially 2 or 3 more products or brands that may be recalled. And I'm going to focus the question on the manufacturers. What are the potential risks here? I'm talking about potential legal consequences. Are there any? Should people start complaining?
Yes, there are legal consequences that would follow. Hence now, when we see that there is a possible violation of the Consumer Protection Act, would quickly issue a investigation so that the supplier knows that they are being investigated, so that we actually give them that right to say that you are free actually not to give us any further information, fearing to be self-incriminating, but then the penalty is that it will be 10% of their annual turnover of the previous year. But then if we find that there has been harm, what we would do once we take the matter to the tribunal, then we will get a certificate wherein a person feels that they have suffered detriment in this case. They do not have to now prove that the supplier has indeed now violated the provisions of the CPA. All that they would be looking for in a civil court is the quantification of the harm that they would have suffered. So if consumers now, they feel that they have been harmed, then they can prove in terms of just that causal effect, the relationship between the consumption of the product and their ill health. Then after we have now kind of like flagged those manufacturers, then they would be free to use that certificate to go and to any other civil court for civil claims.
Very well explained. Thank you very much for your time. Thezi Mabuza is the National Consumer Commission's acting commissioner, talking to us about these unacceptably high levels of a-fla-toxin. This has been found in a number of peanut butter products. And so if you have any on your shelves that have been reported on as basically presenting with more of these unacceptably high levels, the advice is to take the same product back to where you purchased it from, and the assumption is that you will be refunded.